Hello, my name's Suzanne. Welcome back to my video. Today I'm going to walk you through the steps that you can take if you find yourself reacting to a situation or an event or any circumstances and feeling pretty bad about it, and you feel quite stuck about it and you don't know what to do. Well, here's a simple process that you can follow that will help you to reframe whatever's happened and to just feel better about it. So what I've done is, one thing I should say is that with any type of self-development work or psychological well-being work, it's not enough just to know the theory. So most people think that they just need to know something and then that they'll feel better. But the truth is, you need to practice this like you need to practice anything. It's a skill. So this is a simple way that you can begin to practice that independently by yourself whenever you've got a little bit of time. It doesn't take very long and it can make a world of difference. So let's have a look what we've got so far. So I've taken a page. You can just use an A4 page. You don't need to use a big page like this. And I've divided it into three categories. Three columns. The column in the middle is broader because we're going to write more in it probably. So it would be good to have the two end columns slightly more narrow than the middle column. The heading of the first column is, I've called it a trigger. You could call it event, situation. It's something that's happened. This is something that you've heard or seen or felt. This is information or stimulus that's coming in from the outside, usually the outside. I mean, it could be a pain in your body or something like that, but it's outside of your mind and it's a physical, it comes in through the physical senses. Okay, so an example or some examples of potential triggers are things like someone has said something or done something, or we've read an email or a text and that's been a trigger for us. Even things as random as a song on the radio that just reminds you of something, or even seeing a model of car. These are just random examples. The trigger can be absolutely anything. And the reason it can be absolutely anything is because it's not the cause of what we end up feeling. It's only a trigger. It's triggered something in our memory. But we'll go into more into that as we go along. So that's your first column, the trigger. The second column is the thoughts or assumptions. So this is like the non-physical part of us, often referred to as the mind. This is where thoughts arise, assumptions are made, memories are connected to, or remembered. You can't see the mind with or thoughts with your eyes. You can't hear them with your ears, but there's a kind of internal representation that we are aware of. Okay, so thoughts often will begin, they're usually always statements actually. If you listen in, you'll find that the mind makes statements about things, especially when it's being triggered, and they're categorical. So often it will be, I am, fill in the blank, they are, the world is. So for example, say someone has said something to us that we don't like. So an example of a thought or an assumption here would be, I am being disrespected. They are disrespectful, discourteous. The world is unsafe. That's just an example. Another example, you hear a song on the radio, it reminds you of a past love, for example, that didn't end well. I am a victim of their mistreatment. They are cruel and heartless. The world is unloving. Another example. Your examples will be completely your own. They won't be these. I'm just giving you some examples here. Okay. So the kind of thoughts you'll find will include a lot of what we call imperatives. Shoulds, have tos, ought tos, and musts. So these are the kind of thoughts that demand something from you, that you should do something, that you should have already done something, that you shouldn't do something, that you must be a certain way, that you ought to, those kind of demanding words that make you wrong, really. The implicit in them is a criticism that you haven't done it right, or the way that you're doing it isn't right, and that you have to step up and do it in a different way. Okay, so let's have a look. Here are some examples of these thoughts here. So some examples are: I'm unappreciated, they are cruel, the world is dangerous, I have to protect myself. This is where the shoulds and the have tos are coming in. Now the shoulds and the have tos, I have to do that, otherwise there's going to be a bad outcome. So in this case, I have to protect myself, otherwise I'll be exploited. That's just another example. So you can see here already we've got two columns. We've got the trigger, we've got the thoughts, and then we've got a third column, which is the way that we end up feeling when our mind is leveling this narrative at us, this version of events, its interpretation, its assumptions of what this trigger means for us or about us. So when all that's running, these are the kind of things we get to feel then. We can feel anxious or angry or sad. We can be in a low mood. We can feel tense or tight, stressed. These what we generally call negative emotions. They're really just feedback, but we don't like them, so we call them negative. And then what we actually do in terms of our behavior. So maybe we will avoid a situation or a person, or, procrastinate, put it off, or maybe we'll confront a person without thinking it through and then regret it later. Procrastination might include what they call doom scrolling on your phone. You feel quite overwhelmed by things and by your feelings and your thoughts. And in order to get some relief from it, we try and escape into our phones often, scrolling through social media or just through anything at all to distract us. It's a form of distraction from what's really bothering us. Okay. So here I've written a real life example, something that happened to me last week. Now, it's a bit of a silly example, but the mechanism is still the same. So whether it's a silly example like this or something that seems much more serious and enduring, the mechanism remains the same. So you can use these steps on any event that crops up in your life. So here we are. The trigger here. Last week I was walking with my dog in quite a large home maintenance store, very well known one actually, and I sincerely believed it was a dog friendly store. In fact, I've been taking my dog in there for 2 years, and we've always been made very welcome by the staff who actively encouraged us to visit because they just love dogs and they love my dog. So on a rainy day, it's a convenient little outing for the dog. My dog actually doesn't like the rain. So if I don't take her somewhere like that, she's not going to go out. All right. So I was in this store and having a nice time. Some of the staff had been friendly already. I went along strolls, he had a different energy, this guy. He seemed quite angry already. There was something about the way he was moving. It was faster than everybody else. It looked like he was on some kind of a mission. He didn't look relaxed. He didn't look happy. And he kind of said in quite a loud and not aggressive exactly, but a firm tone, this is not a dog friendly store. It's all right for today. Finish your shopping, but in future, we don't allow dogs in here. So I said to him, well, I understood that it was, and I've been told by other members of staff that it is. And this is the bit. So it wasn't him just saying that. It was this bit that really got to me here, because his facial expression contorted slightly into what I can only describe as, well, I assume, my assumption, it looked like contempt. And the tone of his voice was quite, there was an energy to it, and like he was talking down to me. He didn't say, oh, well, I'm really sorry, I'm sorry to be, if you're disappointed, but it's really not a good idea to bring dogs in here because of A, B, C, and D, right? Would have understood that. No, he said, well, it's not, with quite a sneer, that's the word, quite a sneer, it looked to me, and a look of contempt, and then he walked away quite quickly. Okay, so let's first jump to my immediate reaction in terms of my feeling, mood, and then what I did. Okay, so my immediate feeling was one of shock. I also felt angry. What I did was I challenged him, and then in a huff, I said, well, we'll just leave now. We're going now. And I took the dog and we left. But then later, I ruminated on it for hours, and I was not at peace for quite a few hours after this. All right, so what we've looked at there is the trigger event. We've also looked at my feeling and mood in reaction to that trigger event. In the middle, we have, and this is the bit that generates the feeling and the mood and the reaction. It's the lens through which we perceive this thing that's just happened, and the meaning that our survival or fight or flight mind puts on it instantaneously, without hesitation, without contemplation. It immediately assumes there's a threat here. So my mind said, I had to slow this down later on and unpick it, but this is the kind of thing that you're going to come up with if you follow this process. He's abusing his power. This is unfair. If this is unfair, then my mind goes to victim. I've got myself now in a victim mode. I'm a victim of him and his abuse and his unfair treatment. Okay, so I'm diminished, I'm reduced, I'm rejected, I'm disempowered. I should, this is where we come to the imperatives here, I should get even with him, prove him wrong. So I'm going to go home, I'm going to Google this store, and I'm just going to check that it is dog friendly, because I sincerely believe that it was. This is a silly one, but this is where my fantasy went. I'll become the manager and make the store dog friendly. But then I should forget about it and I should get over it. Otherwise, it means he's won and I'm the loser. Okay, so let's just have a look. He's abusing his power. Well, he doesn't have any power over me, really. Okay, he can stop me walking in that shop with his dog. What he can't do is affect the way that I feel. It can make it not very easy for me to retain my equilibrium, which is what he did, right? His behavior was a trigger for my mind, but it was only a trigger. Somebody else wouldn't have turned a hair. It just touched a nerve in me, metaphorically. This is unfair. Well, to him, who knows what his experience was, For him, his trigger was seeing me in there with my dog. That was a trigger for him. Whatever his mind may have said about that to him, I don't know. I can only hypothesize. But he looked quite angry, especially when I said that, well, I've been told by other staff that it's okay to come in. He looked a bit angry about that. Anyway, so I'm diminished, reduced, rejected, disempowered. Now, no other human can do that to me, no matter what they do. And if you don't believe me on that one, I suggest reading Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, because he was in a concentration camp, either Germany or Poland, and he still managed to find a sense of inner joy and peace and equilibrium. So it can be done, even in the worst case scenarios. You know, nobody ultimately can control the way that we feel. It's our mind that does it. It's the lens through which we are perceiving any given situation or event at any particular point in time. And it's what our internal narrative or dialogue says that that means. So we need to find out what it says that that means in order to start to reframe it. So I have to prove him wrong. Well, no, I don't have to do anything. Whenever we've got a should, there's a demand of, we have to do this, you know. Well, the truth is, there's no, I don't know how I should be, he should be, it should be. I don't know. I just know, none of us know. To which authority are we referring to when we insist that we know how things should be? You know, it's imagined. Okay. Should become the manager and make the store dog friendly? I don't think so. I should forget about it and I should get over it, otherwise he's won. This is another thing that the mind does. It divides things into winners and losers, divides people actually into winners and losers. This is a big part of our conditioning, I think, but it's totally fabricated. There's no such thing. I didn't lose anything. Okay, it's inconvenient. Now I can't use that store. I'll have to find another one. There'll be another one in that chain in another part of the city that will be dog friendly. I'll find one, or we'll use a garden centre. Anyway, he hasn't won and I'm not a loser. It's just a circumstance. It's just a circumstance. And you know what? I never felt quite relaxed anyway. The dog loves it in that store, but I was always nervous she was going to wee or poo somewhere, which she actually did quite a few times. Then I was cleaning it up, hoping that nobody was seeing it on the cameras, hoping that the staff weren't going to get angry. I used to be quite relieved when we'd actually left the shop. So in a way, it's not such a bad thing, you know, not such a bad thing. And we can find other things to do. Anyway, I hope that you found this helpful. This is the first video on how to actually deconstruct and use this process for yourself. So I'll be going into more detail about it in my next video. So I look forward to seeing you next time. If you like the content, please remember to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel a lot. I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.